So I am very pleased to welcome on stage our next speaker, Craig Douglas, the co-founder of World Fund, a climate tech venture. Welcome on stage, please.
Have a seat.
Take a seat wherever you want. Here? Okay. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Are you spending the day with us?
Day today, tomorrow morning, and last night as well.
Amazing.
Yes.
We feel so lucky to have you.
Thank you.
I was very impressed when we first met because, sometimes you meet people that have done so many things, have moved mountains, and then you realize that they are so young. You're like, how is this even possible? So anyway, of course, like everyone, I would love to hear your perspective about this current context. What do you think in regards to Europe and the sovereignty of Europe?
Sure, so this has been an increased area of interest, particularly given the current political climate. Historically, we've been more worried about the shall we say, the panda in the room, or the dragon in the room. Now we're much more worried about Uncle Sam in the US. Just from an unpredictable, we no longer...
Are you worried?
Worried. We have an unpredictable trading partner, and historically that has not been true for over half a century.
It's true that, we work a lot with several CEOs around the world, and they are used in those last years to deal with uncertainty.
Yeah.
With a lot of challenges coming their way. We have been experiencing COVID, we have been experiencing the Ukraine war, many things, but we may not have expected also the current geopolitical situation, right?
Quite, yes.
It's about our ability to stay surprised but managing all this. So the question is that also that Christine Lagarde is asking us is, are we able to move fast enough? What is your opinion on this one?
Can we become resilient and entirely independent on every sector, every industry? No. Can we do it in a large proportion of areas? Yes, absolutely. I think we have that opportunity. We have a lot going for us in Europe in that regard. I mentioned in the last panel, we have some of the world's best research institutions. We have more startups in the climate space and in the industrial space founded in Europe than anywhere else in the world. So in terms of...
Education also.
Sorry?
Education also.
Education,
because,
yes. We have the world's best research institutions.
Yes.
We're not necessarily the best at getting the technology out of those institutions and into the real world. So I'm confident that we have a good chance, but there's a lot of work still to be done.
So in your work at the World Fund and beyond, because you are interacting and working with several institutions, think tank, academics, what are you the most proud of when it comes to championing EU?
The relative amount of cohesive strategy in Europe I really like. The fact that we are always going in the same direction. It might take us a long time, but in terms of what we in Europe are good at is maintaining consistency. And as an investor and as companies setting up in this space, not having things flip from one side to the other is the easiest way to be able to make cohesive plans, cohesive investments, and being able to continue to drive that into the future. And we're seeing this with some of my friends and colleagues in the US. They're now looking back to Europe and being like, maybe we should come back home, or maybe we should move back here, because the regulatory framework, the consistency is just much, much stronger here than it is in the US or elsewhere.
Well, maybe what everyone is wondering in this room, you are an advisor to the EU Commission in regards to energy. So what are the 3 recommendations you would give, or you already gave, to the EU Commission in regard to the sovereignty of Europe?
So for me, the biggest issue for most of the underlying technologies and things that we need, like everything underlying resilience, decarbonization, comes down to energy. Can we get that energy at the lowest price where it is needed? Mentioned in the last panel as well, like we have issues where northern Sweden, huge amounts of power, ridiculously low energy price, yet if I want to use that same electricity in Germany to decarbonize my industrial process, I mean, it costs 3 times the price of the power just to transmit it to Germany, right? That's nuts. So the biggest issue that I think we have at the moment is particularly the electricity and energy grid, and how we're supporting that, how we're funding that, is for me the biggest bottleneck that unlocks almost everything else. Like you can't decarbonize industrial processes without significant electrification, but you're never going to do that economically unless your power price is low enough. And the biggest bottleneck to that at the moment is actually the grid, not generating cheap power. We can generate cheap power, that's not the issue anymore.
So the question I have for you then in EU, how do you manage, having a common vision, purpose, and then how do you enable or empower countries and member states to choose the way forward? Meaning, for instance, the way on technology neutrality. So like France could choose nuclear, Germany hydrogen. So how do we manage this balanced?
I mean, this is the nice thing about having an open market. Different countries can choose different things and things set up. What I would love to see more of is how you interconnect all of them. So the relative connectivity of Europe is more important than what the individual countries' choices are.
Okay, so if you had a magic wand, this is what you would choose?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Make sure that you can deploy as much additional capacity as possible in terms of grids, because if you can do that, then actually the cost of decarbonization decreases across the board. And that is a fundamental difference, a fundamental improvement for everyone.
And in your recommendation to EU Commission, do you think that they are hearing you?
I mean, one of the systems that I sit on, or one of the boards that I sit on there is transmission and distribution. And it's quite difficult because the historic architecture, how everything works, is not necessarily geared for the current electricity system or the one that's coming. So it's quite a challenge, I have to say, there. And the legislation has always been geared around, we're just going down that line, how different countries do this. Like there was a wonderful document that I was referring to recently. It's 800 pages. It's a summary of the grid regulation. Summary document. It's 800 pages. Right? That's nuts.
Well, there is a point that a lot of people are bringing this to our attention.
Yeah.
Is that Europe is very good at setting regulation standards.
Yeah.
But this is not about helping Europe become competitiveness higher. So how do you manage that?
In this instance, it's more a case of how do you incentivize everyone to create that system? And we're still quite a long way away from being able to do that effectively. And
who does it well?
Who does it well?
Yeah.
I mean, in Europe, I was going to say European continent. Actually, the UK is further ahead here than Europe.
Why so? Tell us more about that journey.
Because of the way they incentivize these things.
Okay.
So in there, they take a whole systems approach rather than just a very narrow approach. So there, the investors are capable of taking the incentivization for additional grid infrastructure is more taken on a total cost perspective rather than just how do I put hardware in the ground. And it's coming. It's still probably 5-7 years away. That's not soon enough. So learn from others and pick up the pace.
So what would be your call to action to this crowd that is eager to drive the change?
I mean, find things that work economically and deploy them at scale as quickly as possible. In the words of my fellow partner, Tim Schumacher, find solutions that you can sell to climate change deniers, right? Because those are the solutions that can scale today. So find the thing that you think can work today and get your full weight behind it and make it work.
And what does it require as far as leadership to do so?
Yeah, in terms of leadership, you need to be consistent. and particularly on the political side of things, like there's too much people changing from one thing to the other.
And do you think that's true only for politics?
No. No, definitely not. But it's most apparent and most influential in politics.
Okay.
So if
politics do play a critical role from your perspective.
Absolutely. Like
Okay.
the right intentions poorly implemented screw people over as well as poor policies. Like, so we've had some great examples historically, like in Germany, like the original feed-in tariffs, we built up a huge solar industry and then overnight we killed it and all of that production went to China. We had some great incentive schemes for encouraging solar or battery energy storage for the solar industry, and they announced the scheme 6 months before it was going to be deployed. And what happened in those 6 months? Nobody installed anything because they were waiting for the new incentives to come in place. Really well intended, but poorly implemented, nearly killed an industry.
So what would you do to enable us to move with consistency and to avoid this political challenges? So
If you're going to announce something, don't announce it that you're going to do it, just do it.
okay.
The market will react to that, and then be consistent. Be
Okay.
consistent. Be consistent, because people can make investment decisions on consistency. If you change things people don't know and you scare people away, if you make it a consistent approach, anyone can make their decisions based on that.
Thank you so much, Craig. Message is clear. Consistency is required. Thank you. Thank you, Craig.